Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a self-advocate, and I'm here to talk about Autism Awareness Month. As you know, April is here once again, and in case you didn't know, it's National Autism Awareness Month. And while it is a month like Women's History Month, you won't exactly be seeing any spotlight commercials for temple granding. In fact, you'll likely be seeing more about how to detect symptoms and opinions from neurotypical advocates rather than actual people on the spectrum. While neurotypical allies are important to hear from as well, some descriptions tend to be written by people who either don't really understand autism or, at worst, are written by people who try to subjugate rather than educate. Personally, I believe that some more attention should be directed towards autistic people themselves. It may seem like a little bit to ask, considering how quiet a lot of us can be. In fact, our extremely varied descriptions of everyday life tend to paint a little bit more factual and accepting picture, even if some of us can be a little bit blunt. While the puzzle piece and the color blue are the best known symbols for autism, the vast majority of people on the spectrum prefer the color red, a rainbow, the neurodiversity symbol, or more recently, the autistic hat. Allies, of course, are always welcome, but try to remember, like all subcultures, the autistic community has some unwritten etiquette. For the longest time, I had wondered why on earth Autism Awareness Month had no list of famous people like Black Women's History Month. Granted, they're both history months, but I believe my point still stands. So, for this post, here are my top 5 famous people who are, or were probably, on the spectrum. Number 1, Stanley Kubrick. He was described as having poor social skills, a reclusive and uncomplimentary attitude, obsessive interests, literal thinking, and lots of inflexibility. While it's impossible to have a formal diagnosis now, considering he's dead and has been dead for over 20 years, it would actually explain some of his infamous ruthless scene directions in The Shining. Number 2, Satoshi Tajiri. The creator of the Pokemon franchise was really fascinated almost to the point of obsession with insects as a child, to the point that he was nicknamed Dr. Bug by other kids. In fact, he actually came up with the idea for Pokemon after seeing 2 kids play with their Game Boys back then in the ancient days when they had the link cables, and he had imagined bugs crawling across the link cables toward each other's Game Boys. That would later become the trading system in Pokemon. Though he did confirm, eventually, that he was on the spectrum, Tajiri prefers to not talk about it in public, instead choosing to let his many, many, many accomplishments speak for themselves. Number 3, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Granted, professional psychologists can only speculate at this point, given the written information that we do have. This one really isn't that surprising, considering that this is the same Mozart that wrote a harpsichord concerto at 4. Incidentally, Mozart's ear was said to be so delicate that loud sounds made him physically ill. He also had a notoriously short attention span and could circle through a slew of facial expressions in a matter of seconds. If he were alive today, he'd make a killing in acting. In fact, in one infamous incident, so infamous that it's been recorded multiple times by multiple sources, Mozart once got so bored that he started doing cartwheels and vault over tables while meowing like a cat. He must have been really bored. Number 4, Nikola Tesla. This one was a long time coming, as was much of his accomplishments. Thank you, Edison. According to records of Tesla's time, the unsung hero of modern electricity suffered from a substantial number of phobias, was extremely sensitive to light and sound, isolated himself, which, to be honest, what genius doesn't do that, had limited social skills, and was, for some reason, obsessed with the number 3. Poor Tesla. Edison really screwed him over. Number 5, Courtney Love. To be honest, even I was surprised by this. Our last entry was diagnosed with autism at age 9, which is actually surprising for that time when she was a child, and has had an extensive career spanning 30 years. Granted, there's been a bit of controversy with Courtney Love regarding her husband, but I think it's important to note some of her accomplishments as well. We'll have some links to autism advocacy websites in the description, so you can see what a lot of people on the spectrum think about Autism Awareness Month, as well as everyday life in general. This is Stephanie signing off.